about time. Rapid antigen tests will reportedly be made available for purchase in Australia from November. The tests, which are commonplace in countries like Britain and the United States, and they're actually made here in Australia too, can provide highly accurate tests within 20 minutes, all from the comfort of your own home. Let's bring in my panel to discuss this and more. Former Queensland Premier Campbell Newman and Labor MP Joel Fitzgibbon. Well, this is good news, Joel, but you kind of wonder why it took us so long.
Oh, it's great news, Peter, and a new and additional tool in our battle against this terrible virus. We've been pretty slow off the mark, not only on this matter, but of course on vaccination, but we are really catching up now, and we're all very hopeful of a relatively normal Christmas. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, one of the frustrations I've got with all of this, Cam, going right back to the start of the pandemic, is we're not as nimble as we used to be in terms of regulations, manufacturing, all of these things. This Australian company that I've had the CEO on the show from Illume, there's others in the mix I know, but this one in Brisbane, the bloke got a grant, a multi-million-dollar grant from the US Defence Department to turn a prototype into manufactured capability. That was months ago. He's been shipping them to the United States and we're only just allowing them here.
Well, Illume are a great Brisbane technology or biotechnology company, and they should have been backed 100%. And as you say, it's symptomatic of a lack of nimbleness in government in Australia today. It's also, though, testament to a different approach. You see, these rapid antigen tests don't always get it 100% right. I mean, there's various tests, various levels of accuracy. But you see, what we've been doing is not trying to flatten the curve. We've been on this fool's errand of zero cases. And so, you know, the powers that be, the medical, public health people have wanted 100% accuracy. So they've gone with the current test, the PCR test. If you have a risk management approach where you know you're going to have cases, but you want to keep a lid on things to try and keep the people out of the ICUs, then you have lots of these antigen tests out there freely available, and you try and pick the cases up and keep a hold on the whole thing. And that's what they're doing in the UK. And you can travel freely, you can get these tests all over the place, you literally drop them off in local bins around London.
And it'll be good for the taxpayer too, because the PCR tests are well over $120 per test, and these are much less than that. Let's get to some concerning statistics. Online gambling spending, Sydney and Melbourne, it was up as high as 329% above normal levels during the recent lockdowns. According to data released by Accenture, this year's online gambling spend across Australia's two biggest cities significantly higher this year than last year, and last year was pretty high. Pretty sad, Joel, because we know a lot of the money that people are spending is taxpayer funds to help them get through the pandemic, and we've got that imagery we saw yesterday in Melbourne, hundreds of people lining up for food. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary that we are, you know, still in lockdown, still in tough circumstances, and the money's going to mainly offshore betting companies.
It is of concern, Peter. There's no doubt about that. But I have a real dislike for the nanny state. So let's not leverage this or use this as an opportunity to go harder on gambling. Problem gambling is a real challenge for us as a society, and government has a role to play. But thank goodness, people who have been locked down have had a number of things to keep them sane. Gambling amongst them. I mean, most gamblers are responsible gambling, and I hope we don't see some excessive overreaction to what I think, in the scheme of things during the COVID period, is not our number one priority.
Yeah, look, I'm no nanny state. I work for the racing industry, so I know my way around a wagering operation, but I just think 329% increase when the taxpayers are funding people just to keep food and bread on the table, I think that's a real worry. One for you, Campbell. Your new party, the Lib Dems, the Liberal Democrats, challenging these new laws passed by the Morrison government that force it to change its name. Now, I have to say I support the government's move here. This legislation, which went through the Parliament in August, requires parties whose name would include words already taken by an existing party to ask that existing party for permission. How far will you go in this fight?
Well, Peter, the background's important. 3 times over the last 20 years, the Liberal Party's tried this on and tried to shut down, if you like, competition in the space. of political debate in this country, and 3 times they've lost in the AAT and with the Australian Electoral Commission. And indeed, the AAT found a few years ago that words like Liberal, Labor, Democrat, etc., were part of the lexicon of political debate. Look, this is unfortunate, Peter, because it is about the major parties trying to block minor parties out, and it's anti-democratic. Really, there are more important things that we should be bothering about right now. There are all these issues with COVID. There's also the issues on small business and the like. These are things, frankly, we'd prefer to be talking about. Indeed, you were talking about the whole issue about this sudden move to net zero by 2050. Gee, I didn't think the coalition were elected to do that in 2019. But the point is, we're doing it as a matter of principle. It's unfortunate, but it's a stand against big government, big political parties trying to keep competition out.
Yeah, forget your worries about the name. I wouldn't worry about the name. If Libs go down with net zero by 2050 and it's uncosted, votes are going to come your way. Joel Fitzgibbon, Campbell Newman, thank you for your time.